Welcome to Talking Bengals, a Bengals site made by the fans for the fans. Check out Talking Bengals on iTunes, Google Play, and Buzzsprout. Follow Talking Bengals on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at Talking Bengals. Now, let's join the conversation. Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Talking Bengals. More good stuff to talk about. Win number 2 came this week against Buffalo. That's the first thing we're going to get into. But before we can do anything, Nick, how are you doing?
Oh, Casey, this week's doing good. How about yourself, man?
Well, I took a little bit of time off work this week, so it's been nice, getting to hang out with the family, relax a little bit. So I can't complain, especially since on Sunday, got to watch another Bengals victory, 20-16 over the Buffalo Bills. And it was just, Cleveland is a game you really can't base too much off of because, of course, it's Cleveland. But Buffalo is actually a pretty good team this year. They're coming in at 3-1. They had one of the top-notch defenses. Their offense was clicking pretty well. It hadn't turned the ball over since the first quarter of week 1. So this is going to be a hard-fought game. The thing that got me, even before the game happened, I was reading most, I think, the NFL odds or Vegas odds had the Bengals as a 3-point favorite going into this game. So the 1-3 team was a 3-point favorite over the 3-1 team. So that's crazy. Nick, what are your initial thoughts about the game?
I was hoping that the Bengals came into the game ready to play. My initial thoughts were, this is the game that the Bengals, they're either going to bring it or we're going to ride out the rest of the season and hope for good draft picks next year.
So, it was one of those games I was very nervous going into it. And this was kind of, they're 2-3 now, so you can't really say it's a make or break game. But going into the bye week 2-3, winning your last 2 games, getting some momentum building even in your last loss is a lot better than going into the bye week 1-4 with the daunting, game against Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh coming up right after the bye. So, I feel like this game initially is just, they came out, they played well, they did what they needed to do. Was it a perfect football game? Absolutely not. Not even close to a perfect football game. They made a lot of mistakes on both sides of the ball, but mostly on offense. The guy that, you'd say is the hero of the game, but was very close to being the GOAT, was A.J. Green. He had that long touchdown pass at the beginning. He had a couple just, crucial catches and, big gains. But he also tipped a ball that caused an interception, had one bounce off his numbers for an interception, and fumbled a ball on what would have been a huge play if he didn't fumble the ball. So he gave the Bills the ball 3 times. But, of course, he's A.J. Green. He does A.J. Green type things. Had the long touchdown, had another long catch to set up a Joe Mixon touchdown. He just comes through when he's needed. 7 catches, 189 yards, I think. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it was 189 yards. Just, a top-notch performance by your top player, minus the interception that was definitely his fault, the interception was kind of his fault, and the fumble when he just got blasted. But, Nick, what are your thoughts on A.J.?
It was nice to see that Andy Dalton and A.J. Green, they had that connection. Obviously, it's always nice to see that. I was listening to the game with Lapham, and Dave, is it Horde? But I was listening to the game on WEBN. Just hearing the game, it sounded like AJ was running his routes and doing what he has always done, just straight up beat the defender. If AJ Green can continue to just straight up beat defenders, this team could go a lot further than just one playoff game, because other teams are going to have to double cover him, and we got multiple other weapons to go to. So A.J. Green, just keep it up, except for try to hold on to the ball.
So, A.J. has had a tendency to fumble. That has been a problem he's had since he's been in the league. Nothing like, too severe where people talk about like it's a stigma with him, but he has fumbled quite a bit. Usually he can fall back on it. Yeah, so A.J., just keep doing your positive things, stay away from anything negative, and you'll be fine. You're still the top 3, if not the top wide receiver in this league. So don't worry too much about that. A guy who, played pretty well and showed some toughness this week was Andy Dalton. He got his ankle hurt there pretty early in the game. Looked like he was going to have to leave, but he ended up, sticking it out, making plays. And he looked much more comfortable than he did, especially in the first 3 weeks. I don't know if, Cleveland was just, okay, now I'm back on track. Now I see what I need to do, and everything's starting to click. But it's like he understands more what his defensive line can do, what they're capable of giving him. Because this is not a bad defensive team. They played the Bills. The Bills have a very good defensive team, in all honesty. And he was figuring out, okay, I can only hold the ball for this long. I need to get rid of the ball. I got to find a target. I got to get out of the pocket. He was making things happen. He was playing aware, and he wasn't running for his life. He was running with a purpose. He was showing, okay, I know where I'm going. I know what I'm doing. This is all for a reason. This is all planned, as opposed to, against Baltimore and against Houston, where he was just running around like a chicken with his head cut off, trying not to get sacked. So I definitely feel like he's made some strides. He's made some good efforts, and he's coming around. I mean, I think he's playing almost back to form. I'm not going to say 2015 form. He's not been that good, but he's looking at least as good as, 2014 or a couple other the playoff years. Nick, what's your thoughts on Dalton?
I mean, it was nice to hear Dalton completing passes, throwing to the receivers that needed to be thrown to, not really making all that risky of passes from what I could hear on the radio. Now, watching the game, obviously, you can have a different opinion, but I didn't hear anything with Lapham and Horde talking about the game. Dalton was making pretty solid throws. Like the one interception, AJ Green tipped it. It could have been a better throw, but at the same time, you could also place blame on AJ for not catching the ball. It hit his hands. So typical rule is if it hits your hands, you need to catch it, especially as a receiver. I agree with you, Casey, that he's not 2015 form, but he's finding a rhythm. And if he can continue with this rhythm, I think the Bengals can go more than just one game, man. More than just one game into the playoffs. So I think it'll be fun to watch the rest of the season. Hopefully they can capitalize on this bye week and come back and beat the crap out of Pittsburgh.
I mean, something I said in the offseason, I remember we were talking about, how far this team could go. And I'm going to stick by what I said then. This team will go as far as Andy Dalton takes them. He is, the hinge pin to figure out what this team can be capable of. Where are they going to go? When he's not playing well, they're a bad football team. When he plays well, they're a really good football team. He has the parts and pieces and weapons around him, so he's just got to make it happen. He needs to find a way to just step up, make the plays, and continue on this good streak, continue to build, just make this a reoccurring event. And, yeah, you got to go to Pittsburgh and you got to, kick some butt when you go in there. And a big part of that could help the Bengals out is the defense. I mean, good Lord, this defense has just been outstanding thus far this season. I mean, they've just gotten better week by week by week by week. It surprised me. The Bengals usually don't address their key issues in the offseason, then make you frustrated the next year going, why didn't we address this? But the pass rush is just mean at this point. I mean, they're getting pressure on the quarterback. They're getting penetration in the backfield. And the secondary is holding their own for the most part. I wouldn't say the secondary has been exceptional by any means, but they're holding their own. They're giving up a few big plays, especially, against Green Bay and a little bit earlier in the season than that. But they're holding their own. They're figuring out what they need to do to stop offenses. Now, have they played a top caliber receiver? No. Have they played anybody really dominant or tough since, Green Bay as far as offensively? I mean, Buffalo has a decent offense, but nobody that you're really just terrified of. But Pittsburgh will definitely be a test for the defense because, you're going up against Antonio Brown, who is one of the top receivers in the league, as much as it pains me to say that. But he's going to be a guy that'll show how well the secondary does. But it's going to come back to the pass rush. And I think right now the pass rush has just been outstanding. Carl Lawson is just a monster. Michael Johnson's playing back to form. Geno Atkins is being Geno Atkins. And it's just been great to watch. Nick?
I mean, it's great to listen to. Hearing Lapham get excited on the radio, as much as I dislike him and his voice, hearing him get excited about the Bengals doing something good. I mean, especially on defense. I mean, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, to hear the pass rush, getting to the quarterback, on almost every pass play, and hearing the sacks, hearing the announcers get excited, hearing the fans just roaring. I mean, that's what you live for, man, especially as a football player. I mean, you hear everybody cheering and just getting all riled up because, you just made a big play. And that's what football is about. And I mean, the defense, yes, they can improve, but I mean, like you said, the pass rush is just phenomenal. And, stopping runs for losses, putting pressure on the quarterback. I mean, with the defensive line putting pressure on the quarterback, what you're essentially doing is you're making sure that your defensive backfield doesn't have to cover the receivers as long. So you're kind of giving them a break. So, I mean, as long as your pass rush continues, I mean, our defensive backfield right now is decent and can only improve. So I'm very happy with our defense, Casey.
So, I mean, one weak area that the Bengals have had on offense, at least in my opinion, I think most people would agree with me, has been the running game. So I'm trying to figure out what can they do to improve on the running game. I've been kind of taking the lead on most of these subjects. I'll let you run with this one first.
I mean, to improve on the running game, I mean, Gio has just been a workhorse, and Joe Mixon. I don't see why we're not running with Joe Mixon. Where Jeremy Hill's getting the ball. I mean, it kind of runs into our first topic on Roasted or Boasted, but I mean, Jeremy Hill just needs to have the ball less. He needs to be the third running back. I mean, Gio's really stepped up this year. Joe Mixon has really filled into a role. I mean, give the kid some opportunity. Give Gio his snaps. Give him the ball. I mean, he's been making plays. Give the ball to the people who make plays for you. I think the Bengals can only succeed giving the ball more to Gio and Mixon. So I think that's the only way they can improve on the running game. Give the ball more to Gio and Mixon.
And I do agree with that. I feel like the one thing that's starting to bother me is they're still doing too much. This series is Mixon, this series is Gio, this series is Hill. It should be mostly Joe. Joe Mixon should be getting the ball the majority of the time, and then you're mixing in Gio out of the backfield. Maybe a little bit on close yardage plays with Jeremy Hill, but I feel like Mixon gives you the same short yardage threat. I think the biggest problem that Mixon's had thus far this season is he's not getting enough reps. He's the kind of guy that the more you give him the ball, the more dangerous he's going to get. And I mean, because he's had flashes of brilliance. You're just like, wow, he just, got around the outside. He made that guy miss. But when you're only giving him, 15, 20 touches a game, and that's, between the pass game and running, how do you expect this guy to get comfortable in the NFL, especially when he has a substandard offensive line? Yes, the Bengals have been playing better, but they still have a substandard offensive line. This is not a top-tier line by any stretch of the imagination. So the fact that, you're trying to ask for him to, give you the moon and you're not giving him an opportunity and putting him in running plays that will let him succeed, then I don't know. I mean, they also need to get rid of these, the big wide sweeps. The Bengals have never been good at that. As long as I can remember, when you try to do a pitch to the outside, they have not been successful at doing that. I don't even remember the last Bengals running back who had success doing that. Corey Dillon wasn't successful doing that. Nobody that I can remember was. But for some reason, the Bengals like to pitch the ball and run outside and lose 2 to 3 yards. I don't get it. Go with what gives you success, the counter plays, the draw plays, the dive plays, stuff that gives Mixon a chance to slow play it and then go when he sees the hole. But a sweep, when everybody's drifting toward the sideline, you run out of room. You can't really cut it back on a sweep very easily. So they need to pick a type of running play that lets them be successful and stop dealing with stuff and stop doing reverses. I'm a big trick play guy, but offense in general, just stop doing reverses and double reverses. The Bengals are not good at that. The Bengals don't get 25, 30 yards like other teams do off those plays. They just are not successful. So please just cut those plays out. Positive yardage. Even if it's only 2 to 3 yards a pop, you're getting positive yardage. So went a little bit off the running game there, but just Do the plays you can be successful at. We'll move into roasted or boasted with that being said. And like you touched on a little bit earlier, first topic I'll give to you. Jeremy Hill does not have a place on this team. Roasted or boasted?
Saying he doesn't have a place on this team, I'm going to have to say boasted. Joe Mixon brings everything and more to the table than what Jeremy Hill brings. I mean, and we've invested in Mixon, and I mean, Gio again brings more than what Jeremy Hill can bring. I mean, Gio comes out of the backfield and catch the ball. You can give Gio the ball on running plays, and he makes big plays. I mean, I don't see where Jeremy Hill fits in anymore. I think he's just another player that maybe the Bengals are holding on to just in case, Gio or Mixon gets hurt. And I honestly don't see why Jeremy Hill is even starting anymore. Gio or Mixon deserves to start. Like you were saying, I think that the more they give the ball to Mixon, Mixon's going to continuously show how good he is. I mean, it's like AJ Green. You're not going to throw the ball to, I don't know, Tyler Boyd, 90% of the time, and only throw the ball to AJ Green, 2 or 3% of the time. AJ Green's your top receiver. You throw to him. Joe Mixon's your best running back. You give him the ball. So, I don't know. I'm going to say boasted because I don't think Jeremy Hill has a place.
I'm going to say boasted absolutely as well. I mean, I tried to find, a devil's advocate argument to hear boasted. It was really hard, and I couldn't do it. What he brings to the team is something that Joe Mixon, like you said, can do, and then some. So what's the point of having him except for as a backup in case of injury? But that's not what he's happy with. And I'm not going to, down what he's done this season. Thus far, he's, had his most successful yards per carry average in the last couple of years. But he's nothing spectacular. He is definitely the third best running back on the field and on the team at this point, because Mixon's your number one as far as overall talent. But Giovanni Bernard, like you touched on, has just been absolutely outstanding. I mean, I've never seen him play this well. He is just, getting balls out of the backfield and making things happen. And he's just having a phenomenal year thus far, and I hope he keeps it up because he's just been, just outstanding. So, where do you put Jeremy Hill? What are you going to have him do? I mean, goal line? Couldn't you just have Mixon do goal line? 3rd and 1s? Can't you just have Mixon do 3rd and 1s? I mean, other than when he falls down in Green Bay, hopefully that never happens again. But isn't that what you have an all-purpose back for? Who's faster, more agile, can make more things happen? I just don't know what Jeremy Hill's job is. I mean, if you just had when it was just Gio and Jeremy, you knew what Jeremy Hill's job was. He was the power back. He was the guy to run up the middle because when you try to run Gio up the middle, that doesn't work out. They've tried a couple times this year. It still doesn't work out. Use your weapons the way they're meant to be used. But, yeah, I just don't know where they're going to put Jeremy Hill. I don't know. Brings us to our next one. The next topic is the offense needs to get the young receivers more involved. Roasted or boasted?
I mean, that's a boasted all day long. I mean, AJ Green is a weapon. Don't get me wrong. You continuously throw to AJ Green whenever he is open. And a lot of times that's all the time. But when they start double covering, AJ Green and he's not open, you got to spread the ball around. You can't just force it to AJ Green. So, I mean, you got Tyler Croft, you got Ross, you got gosh, I can't remember the other names. It's been a long day. But, I mean, you have all this other talent that you can throw to. You don't have to just throw it to AJ Green. And, Casey, we've been saying this all year long. These young receivers can catch the ball. These young receivers can get open. I mean, just throwing it to AJ Green, yeah, it's all fine and dandy until he doesn't catch the ball anymore because he's double and triple covered because the other teams know that all we're going to do is throw to AJ. So, in my not so humble opinion, I think that we need to throw the ball to the younger receivers more often. I mean, just quite simply because it opens up AJ Green. You have him, on a fade or AJ Green on a deep post because they're double covering another receiver. Because we like throw the ball on a short slant like we used to Hushmanzada when we had, Chad Johnson. Hushmanzada, short slant, and then you'd have Chad Johnson open down the sideline because other teams knew that, third and less than 5, there's a good chance that we're going to throw a short slant to him or a low button hook. I mean, there's just a lot more opportunity for AJ Green if we do involve the younger receivers more often, because you bring in more opportunity for AJ Green to get open because they're going to have to cover all the receivers instead of just AJ. So I think it would be smart tactically to involve these younger receivers. I mean, I just don't think that there's, a valid argument otherwise.
Once again, I'm going to have to agree with you on that one. They need to get the younger receivers more involved. And for many reasons, most of them you touched on. Another one is AJ Green is injury prone. He has had, injuries at least almost every season of his career where he's missed 2 to 3 games, or, last year missed a huge chunk of the season. So you got to have people that Andy Dalton are comfortable with. You got to get Tyler Boyd involved. You got to get Cody Core involved. You got to get John Ross on the field to get him involved. Alex Erickson. And Brandon LaFell has been playing much better than I thought he would. He's been doing a good job. But you got to get the young guys involved. You got to make sure that they are key contributors and that they're people that he trusts and can be successful with. Because heaven forbid, something happened to AJ Green, he's out for a few games or an extended period of time. The team can't just stop. And that's what happened last year. They were struggling with him, but as soon as he was gone, it was like all hope was lost. And you can't have that. You got to still have the ability to win. You still got to have the possibility to be successful without, even though he's one of the most successful or talented people in the league, you still got to be successful without him. You still got to have potential to win without him. So you get the young guys involved. And, speaking along those lines, the last roasted or boasted topic for the week, is this team a contender for real?
To honestly answer the question, I think that I'm going to have to wait another few game weeks. See how they play out. For right now, I'm going to say boast it. I think they are a contender for real. Just going based off of their game against Green Bay. I mean, they had opportunities to win that game. They had more than enough opportunities to win the game. But coming off those 2 losses at home, you're looking at mistakes. You're looking at young players that are playing positions they're probably not used to playing on the line. And you're also looking at Perfect, Perfect getting stupid penalties that probably shouldn't have been called, and he's only getting penalties called on him because he's Perfect. And then playing against Cleveland was a morale booster, more or less. It's like a practice game. And then this just past week against the Bills, I don't see how I could say that they weren't a contender at this point, just simply because, pardon me, just simply because I think that they've shown that, they can play with the big dogs, and I think that they can play in this league. I mean, you have a good, solid defense, which defense wins championships, and the offense can produce, just has to stay at that high caliber that they were at this past week. And everybody has to play hard every down. So I'm gonna boast it.
I'm gonna say to win the division, boast it. To win the Super Bowl, roast it. As far as the rest of the league goes outside of the AFC North, they're not even close. There's teams that are just much better than my opinion right now. If the Bengals play against, the Patriots or, the Chiefs or a team that's playing really well, I don't see them being that successful. But in a really terrible AFC North where, Ben Roethlisberger just threw 5 interceptions and, the Ravens, in my opinion, are still a joke. They're just the games they win, It's like the teams they play forget to show up or, have injuries or have other problems going on. So I don't think the AFC North is that for real, which opens the door to give the Bengals a chance to, win the division. I don't think the Bengals have a chance of getting in as a wild card because the other divisions are playing too well right now. So the AFC North's only going to get one team, but the Bengals could be that one team legitimately. They're one game out. 2-3 at 5 weeks in, you're only one game behind the Steelers, one game behind the Ravens. You're right in the mix of it. And if you can win division games, then that's the big deal here. If they can, take the bye week, practice real hard, and beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, you're right back in the driver's seat. Let's say because Baltimore's going to falter down the stretch. I know they're not, and then we played them the last week of the season. Well, if we somehow beat Pittsburgh twice, which doesn't happen very often, but if it could happen, beat Pittsburgh twice and beat Baltimore, as long as we don't lose out every other game, we're going to be a contender at the very end of the season. So I do agree. For the division, boasted, and for the Super Bowl, I got to roast it at this point. But, with it being a bye week, we don't have any football that we were particularly interested in watching on Sunday, but it opens us up some other plans. This weekend I'm going to be doing stuff around the house on Sunday, I guess, but I will try to watch some football. I'd like to see, I'd like to watch the Steelers and Chiefs to hopefully see the Chiefs just lay it on the Steelers and put them, what would that put them at 3-4 at that point? Or not 3-4, sorry. Yeah, 3-4 at that point. So I'd like to see them just losing games, or 3-3. Sorry, I'm going backwards too far. 3-3. I'd like to see the Steelers go backwards. So, Nick, what are you going to be doing this weekend?
Well, on top of working, probably going to be trying to catch some of that Steelers game just to see if I can see Big Ben throw another 5 picks. That's just phenomenal. When I first heard that Big Ben threw 5 picks, I had to pause the TV and so I could finish my laughing spree before I could watch all the 5 picks while I'm still laughing. If anybody listens and they don't know already, my wife is a Steelers fan. And yeah, well, nothing makes me feel happier than the Steelers doing that poorly. Good night, 5 picks. That's worse than Dalton could even try to be. Anyways, I'll be working, but I'll be trying to catch a couple games here and there. Probably try to watch the Sunday night game and see how that goes. But definitely trying to watch a little bit of the Steelers-Chiefs game just to see if Big Ben can match his 5 interceptions.
So another game everybody should keep on their radar to watch is the wonderful, awesome Cleveland Browns, who have gone to yet another starting quarterback in Kevin Hogan. They have gone through more starting quarterbacks than any other team since they've come back into the league, in what was that, the late 90s. And it's just a joke. Can they give a guy more than a few weeks to get comfortable? Kaiser is a rookie. He really, honestly, was not playing that horrible for a rookie on a bad team. So why are you not giving him a chance to continue to develop? You just put in another guy hoping for a miracle. Well, let's see. It didn't work last year. Didn't work the season before that. Didn't work the season before that. Didn't work the season before that, and so on and so forth since they've come back into the league. You need to pick a quarterback, stick with the quarterback. If you ever want to have a hope of being a successful team, you can't take one young guy and go, well, you're not being good through 5 weeks. We're going to go with this young guy and hope it works out much better. That's just stupid. But it will be interesting to watch Cleveland start yet another quarterback, as they're probably going to get waxed pretty hard by the Texans. Oh, goodness. So that's going to bring us into our final thoughts. Nick, I'll let you lead that as well.
I'll keep it short. Looking at this past week, it was just absolutely amazing to watch the Bengals actually come out and play and listen to the Bengals come out and play. And hearing it on the radio, yeah, there was some mistakes. Mistakes are always going to be made. NFL players are only human. People are only people. We're going to make mistakes. So all in all, this week I was excited to watch. especially some of the replays, and watch AJ Green just tear it up on the field. But I think the Bengals bye week plans need to be preparation for the Steelers and preparation for the rest of the year to not only stay healthy, but to make sure they keep their heads on the shoulder for the rest of the season and hopefully bring a playoff win back to Cincinnati.
So my final thoughts are going to have a couple different portions of it. The first one is, the Bengals, focus on the Steelers. Get healthy and focus on the Steelers. And let's just keep enjoying football. Let's enjoy watching football because that's what I've done the last couple weeks. It's been nice. So hopefully the Bengals can continue to build off their success. At the end of the year, we're talking about they're right in the mix of it, and they're going to have a chance to win the division and have success in the playoffs. But on a separate note for other Cincinnati sports, as far as the Reds go, maybe it's time to fire Brian Price, forget that extension because John Farrell just got fired by the Red Sox. So maybe you want to sign him since he's won a World Series and 3 division titles in 5 years. So maybe we just want to hire him and get rid of Brian Price. No offense, Brian Price, but I don't know if you're going to be the guy to get the Reds to the World Series. But that's going to wrap it up for us this week on Talking Bengals. Check us out on iTunes, Google Play, Buzzsprout. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at Talking Bengals. Have a wonderful week. Hoo-day.
Hoo-day.